Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Joe Dunn. I was born at St. Vincent's Hospital here in Portland, Oregon. I joined the United States Air Force in 2003, returned duty in 2007. I took a note to the Constitution, and that obligation is what brings me here tonight. The federal government, they violate laws constantly. The deputy or the district attorney said that we shouldn't be concerned about that we can enter it in the MOU to, if Portland police violate the law, that we can prosecute them. But the federal government violates the law all the time. The wars that we have in Iraq and Afghanistan are illegal under Article 6 of the Constitution. We violate under the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 5 on torture. The Electronic Frontier Foundation just estimated that the FBI has committed 40,000 crimes in the last 10 years alone. Before that, in the summertime, they estimated that the FBI committed 12,000 illegal wiretaps. And of course, the National Security Agency is wiretapping our phones all the time. So the federal government, they commit crimes all the time. The state commits crimes all the time, and no one ever upholds the law. We have to uphold the law. And I think that the only way that we can do that is if we respond to the Joint Terrorism Task Force inquiry by saying that we want a FOIA request into the FBI to see how they are violating 181575. We should try and remove ourselves from the FBI further than we already are. Because as long as they continue to violate the law, we should try and remove ourselves from them. That's the only ethical response that we can have if somebody is breaking the law. If we can't try and get them to enforce it, because clearly there's no political will to do that, we should try and remove ourselves further. There was talk about databases earlier tonight. So Veterans for Peace and Iraq Veterans Against the War, I'm a member of both organizations, and both organizations have shown up in a database called Talent. The ACLU found out about it through a FOIA request back in 2006. Congress defunded it, but it was basically a list of all veterans who become anti-war protesters like myself. And when they would show up to a rally, they would give the police a picture and a bio on the people that were there, and that way when they need to round up folks, they'd go after the nonviolent veteran protesters first, because we're the most influential, apparently. So it's kind of an honor, but at the same time, it's kind of a burden. So those databases do exist. That's the type of database that they have up there. It's to target and prosecute political people, not terrorists. That's, like I said, we need to remove ourselves further from the FBI. Thank you.
Sorry, what's the database name? Or can you say?
It's called Talon Threat Analysis Location Observation Notice.
Hello, my name is Kathy Bell, and it's good to meet the Human Rights Commission of Portland. I hope in future discussions that you have with our legislators that you'll be concerned about privacy, public safety, personal liberty, freedoms, and rights enumerated in our conversation. I certainly have big concerns. I have concerns about the FBI's long and tarnished history of assassination and murder, of staging false flag events, of participation in COINTELPRO activities, which is still going on, targeting dissident groups, especially anti-war protesters. I believe at this particular time in 5 cities that have brought in the Joint Terrorism Task Force students, dorms have been raided, their computers have been stolen, confiscated, their cell phones, et cetera, et cetera. It's tremendous violations, and they're being prosecuted by the Attorney General's office. I'm concerned that the FBI has a long and tarnished history of human rights abuses, spying on citizens. I'm concerned that bringing the JTTF to Portland is a done deal. I certainly hope not. I'm further concerned about the increasing police state throughout our entire country. I'm concerned about FBI raids on students, as I mentioned before. You know, we live in dangerous times, especially as the U.S. increases its hostile and imperial reach around the world. I guess this kind of promotes the silencing of opposition at home. I suspect Portland will experience the same crackdown and repression that's experienced by many cities today as the JTTF moves into their cities. Bringing the JTTF here is antagonistic to your mission statement, especially concerning justice. As well, it's the JTTF and the FBI, they're both dangerous to a free and civil society. So I vote no, and I encourage you to.
Would Lawrence Jensen, Dwight Bolton, and Herman Frankel.
by this latest Christmas tree owner here in Portland. The fact that he was supported, directed by the FBI the entire time, that he had no real foreign contact, no contact with Al-Qaeda, they gave him an apartment, they funded and directed him, and it bothered me more that not only did they do that, but it was touted in the media as a complete administration of justice, that they arrested him and jailed him for those crimes. In any other legal standards would define the FBI as co-conspirators for fomenting and aiding and abetting these sorts of acts. And just the fact that such disconnect exists between the legal standards that are applied to citizens and the ones that are applied to government, such a disconnect exists that is so profound, it's not indicative of a free society. Government should not be held to different standards than its citizens, and definitely not allowed to run rampant like that. I would like to, provided in the handout, was the definition of terrorism. It's on page 3 on the left-hand column for everyone. Under Section A, involve acts dangerous to human life that are in violation of the criminal laws of the United States or of any state, or B, appear to be intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, and to affect the conduct of a government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. And how ironic it is right now that we're sitting here in a committee deciding whether to join this task force after these acts, this terrorist act that was fomented and planned by the Federal Bureau of Investigation was carried out in our city. That is by very definition, terrorism under federal law.
What is your name?
I'm Lawrence Jensen.
Please have my third name from Ozzy Norton.
My name's Wade Holton, I'm the U.S. Attorney. I just wanted to offer to answer a couple of the questions that had been raised by a couple of commissioners. I'm not here to play an advocacy role. You know, I have had that opportunity before, and don't want to do that now. Commissioner Martinez had asked about what it looks like now, the cooperation looks like now versus what it looks like under JTTF, where everyone is in, where the police would be a part of it. Currently, there are Portland police officers working on terrorism cases across the park, and there are FBI squads a couple blocks away. The difference would be being in the same room. And I think it was also you, Commissioner Martinez, who had asked about the clearance levels. The difference in clearance, the top secret clearance is required to get into the computer system and the space that's used by the JTTF. So the squads meet every morning. There are 2 squads. There's a domestic terrorism squad that worries about things like white supremacist groups, other political extremists who engage in violence. And the international terrorism squad that looks at a whole panoply of international terrorism stuff. They meet in the morning and get debriefed, and the Portland police guys aren't there because they're not a part. They have ongoing leads that they get from places like the Fusion Center, and the Portland police don't get them because they're not there. So I think that's the kind of operational level difference. And hopefully, I'm happy to answer further questions offline if you have. With respect to budget implications, as Ms. Osnak pointed out, the federal government takes up overtime and also takes liability. Someone had raised at the last meeting the point of liability. Actually, the federal government takes liability. We cover liability costs of any officer who's a part of any of the task forces that we were together when you're deputized. And I think I've found out since our last meeting that there are approximately 40 officers at Portland Police Bureau who are deputized in various capacities to work with the federal government on things from human trafficking to mortgage fraud, and everything except terrorism, or principal priorities except terrorism. Lastly, was a question about oversight. There's a elaborate audit process for the Joint Terrorism Task Force that's run by the National Security Division of the Department of Justice and the Office of General Counsel of the Department of Justice. And then, of course, there's also the independent counsel, the Inspector General, who conducts reviews of allegations or concerns about operations of JTTF. So I'm happy to answer any other questions offline. I wanted to answer those easy ones on top.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Betsy Toll.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It's okay, I'm here. Commissioner Fry, Commissioners, thanks for the opportunity to speak here. I have nothing to add to the information provided by Ms. Bass, the outraged indignation expressed by Mr. Jensen. I'm a child of immigrant parents, so I carry my copy of the Constitution with me, and next to it, a copy of the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So what I'll add to the discussion will be a couple of questions. Before any decision is made to negotiate a memorandum of understanding with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not after a decision is made to discuss, but before, I think it's absolutely essential that all of us who live, work, study, worship, or travel in the city of Portland know in advance, will our professional law enforcement personnel, employees of the city, who have top-level security clearance, will they be able to discuss assignments that they've been given by supervisors in the Federal Bureau of Investigation with the city attorney, who will have the same level of security clearance before they commit crimes against people who live, work, study, travel, or worship in the city of Portland? I think that question needs to be answered before we get buried in a blizzard of excitement about fighting terrorism. Similarly, with regard to civilian oversight of city employees, will our mayor and commissioner of police, if it's not the same person in any particular administration, have the same level of security clearance so as to be able to fulfill their obligation to us who live, work, study, worship, travel, Portland, to be ensuring that city employees will not be violating the Constitution, will not be violating the statutes of the state? Those questions need to be answered before we get involved in the excitement of signing a memorandum of understanding. In 1789, before agreeing to sign the Constitution, the representatives of our 13 colonies created our Bill of Rights to protect the rights of people from assault by a strong central government. That's not only our legal obligation, that's our moral and ethical obligation. And I'm so grateful to you for having the courage and the integrity to hold this kind of hearing so that these concerns can be shared with all of us who live, work, study, travel, or worship in our own ways in this city